Here is your Golfer's Almanac for June 16th. Today is the birthday of Phil Mickelson, born Philip Alfred Mickelson in 1970 in San Diego, California. Mickelson was a Sun Devil and played on the Arizona State University golf team, winning 3 individual NCAA championships as well as a team title in 1990. He won 16 collegiate events in his career and was only the second college golfer to earn first-team All-American honors all 4 years. Mickelson won the U.S. Amateur in 1990, beating Manny Zerman 5-4 at Cherry Hills. And then in 1991, he won the Northern Telecom Open, a PGA Tour event. Mickelson is still the last amateur to win on the PGA Tour. He's won 45 times on the PGA Tour, 3 Masters, 2 PGA Championships, and a British Open. Mickelson was the first golfer to announce his intention to play on the LIV Golf Tour in 2022. Happy birthday, Phil. On this day in 1956 at the U.S. Open at Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester, New York, Cary Middlecoff won his second U.S. Open title, a stroke better than Julius Boros and Ben Hogan. Hogan was trying to win his 5th U.S. Open, but missed a 4-foot putt on the 17th hole and would finish 1 back. Hogan was also runner-up the previous year, 1955, when he lost in an 18-hole playoff with Jack Fleck. Boros missed a 15-footer on the 72nd hole that would have also tied Middlecoff. Billy Casper played in his first major and finished 14th. On this day in 1966 at the U.S. Open at Olympic Club in San Francisco, a 19-year-old Johnny Miller posted a first-round 70, even par. Miller grew up in San Francisco and was a junior member at the Olympic Club. He had just finished his freshman year at Brigham Young University and had signed up to be a caddy before he qualified for the event. Miller finished in a tie for 8th and was low amateur. And this was the first U.S. Open for Lee Trevino, who made it through both local and sectional qualifying. Hale Irwin was making his U.S. Open debut and was going to be a senior at the University of Colorado, and he was playing defensive back for the Buffaloes football team. All 3 made the cut. All 3 would win the U.S. Open later in their careers. Irwin won 3, Trevino 2, and Miller won once. Billy Casper won the 1966 U.S. Open in an 18-hole playoff with Arnold Palmer. Casper came from 7 strokes back on the back 9 and tied Palmer, and then Casper won by 4 in the playoff. On this day in 1968 at Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester, New York, Lee Trevino won the U.S. Open by 4 strokes over Jack Nicklaus. This was the first time in U.S. Open history that 4 rounds in the 60s were posted. Trevino tied the Open scoring record set the previous year by Jack Nicklaus. This was Trevino's first win on the PGA Tour. He would go on to win 5 more majors and 28 more wins on the PGA Tour. 6 years later, on this day in 1974, Hale Irwin won the U.S. Open at Winged Foot with a score of 287, 7 over par. This was the first of his 3 Open titles. The event was dubbed the Massacre at Winged Foot due to the high scores. Forrest Fessler was the runner-up. And then in 1989, on this day, again at Oak Hill in Rochester, New York, 4 golfers made a hole-in-one on the par 3 sixth. Jerry Pate, Nick Price, Doug Weaver, and Mark Wiebe. Previously, only a total of 17 aces had ever been recorded at the U.S. Opens in nearly 100 years of the event history. In 2022, Don Allen passed away in Rochester, New York. He was 84 years old. Since this seems to be a Rochester-themed episode, it's fitting that Allen was considered the greatest amateur golfer in Rochester history. He won the New York State Amateur Championship 6 times and won the prestigious Monroe Invitational 4 times, more than any other golfer. Allen qualified for the U.S. Amateur 18 times, finishing 3rd in 1965. He played in 4 U.S. Opens, 3 Masters, and was on 2 Walker Cup teams. Allen and fellow amateur Bill Campbell are the only 2 golfers to have qualified and played in every USGA-sponsored event at every level, from the U.S. Junior Amateur to the Senior Amateur. That's pretty impressive. Rest in par, Don Allen. On this day in 1997, Jeff Medlin passed away. He was 43 years old. Better known as Squeaky, he was a caddy on the PGA Tour and helped Nick Price win the British Open and 2 PGA championships. Though for the 1991 PGA Championship at Crooked Stick in Indiana, Price withdrew from the tournament due to the birth of his son. Squeaky picked up the bag for the 9th alternate, John Daly, who drove through the night and without a practice round fired a 69 in the first round and went on to win the event with much help from his caddy. Rest in par, Squeaky. Finally, on this day in 2001, Willie Turnesa died. He was the youngest of the golfing Turnesas, 7 brothers, all golf professionals, except for Willie. His brothers would not let him turn pro and pooled enough money between them to send him to Holy Cross. The year he graduated in 1938, he won the U.S. Amateur at Oakmont. He earned his nickname Willie the Wedge in the final round against Pat Abbott. Turnesa hit into 13 greenside bunkers over 29 holes and got up and down every time, winning 8 and 7 over Abbott. Now that's a painful loss. Turnesa won the British Amateur in 1947 at Carnoustie and then his second U.S. Amateur in 1948 at Memphis Country Club. In 1949, he lost in the British Amateur Finals to Max McCready at Port Marnock Golf Club outside of Dublin. But Willie the Wedge struck again in the semis. Turnesa missed 15 of 18 greens, but managed to shoot 71 and win the match thanks to his deft touch around the greens. Rest in par, Willie Turnesa. And here's a quote today from Seve Ballesteros. I'd like to see the fairways more narrow. Then everybody would have to play from the rough, not just me. That's it for today in golf history. Play fast, repair all the pitch marks you can find, and keep your golf ball in the short grass. Your Golfer's Almanac is a GolfToons production. It's written, produced, and narrated by me, Michael Duranko. I invite you to check out our original golf illustrations and the humor essays that accompany each of the golf cartoons. Tour Backspin is a weekly golf history newsletter that celebrates the PGA Tour in the 1960s and 70s with tie-ins to today's tour. They offer a bunch of content, contests, and other interesting bits. See the link in the show notes and subscribe.